Welcome back to Phoenix Skin. My name is Christy. Today I'm going to start my back to basics soap making. So this is to show you how to make soap, how you can go about purchasing some simple items, where you can get them from, and just the overall process on how to make your first bar of soap. This is going to be very simple. For me, I might be saying simple because I've done it a few times now, but I mean simple in terms of when I started. This is literally how my soap looked, plain bar of soap. I think I only had one fragrance at the time and I was just trying to do it. So for you, it should be the same. Shouldn't have that many issues. But if you think that you need some answers, you can always put your questions in the comment section and I'll be more than happy to assist you there. Okay, so let's make some soap. Okay, so to start with, for this purpose, I have a small bottle of coconut oil, which I purchased from the supermarket. You can surely do that. As I got more into making soap, I tend to go to Costco and I would buy like I think they're either 2.3 or 3 liter jugs that cost about $19. And they are better than using the small bottle all the time. What I tend to do is when I get that container, I transfer it out into a big circular container, only because it's easier to handle and take the coconut oil out. Now, when you're doing this, these measurements should be as precise as possible. I keep a small bottle of alcohol on the counter because the coconut oil is very greasy and I need that to wipe stuff off. I also have my lye set to the side there and a container to use the lye in. I purchase my lye from my supplier, so that could be Windy Point or Voyager. You can always purchase your lye from Amazon, or I think you can purchase it from hardware stores. I've never purchased it from the hardware store before, but definitely from Amazon. So I'm getting the other ingredient because for this recipe, I am using coconut oil and cocoa butter. I am using the deodorized cocoa butter. Since this is a plain soap, you could have used the unrefined one. I purchased my butters from New Directions Aromatics. They come in little containers like this, and those are the containers that I normally try to keep them, and then I put my coconut oil in these containers. Okay, so I set that aside and then I start working on my lye. In the video, you will hear me talk about how I normally pour my lye, but this is a small amount and I think I only had a little bit left in the container. So normally when you are pouring your lye, you try to make sure that you pour the lye in the water. And also, this is distilled water. That's the water you should use. If you don't have distilled water and you're making these bars for yourself, you can surely heat the water, bring that water to a boil, and then use that water. So let it cool first, then use the water that you boil to make your soap. So the sodium hydroxide that you use, try to find food grade one. There is one for food grade. If you can't find that, that's okay. So yeah, so here I'm pouring in here like this. Usually you try to pour that in another container and you gradually add your lye to the water and stir each time. I'm comfortable enough to do it this way, but I would recommend any person that's starting not to. Okay, and then you set that aside. So when you are mixing lye, make sure to have a mask and goggles so that you're protecting your eyes and you're not inhaling the fumes. And you stir this until it is fully dissolved. Lye comes in different forms. You sometimes get the small little like granules, and then sometimes you get flakes. So that's all done. Okay, so our butters have melted. So this is cocoa butter and coconut oil. Now I'm gonna add my other oils. Castor oil helps to give your soap like a bubbly feel. The cocoa butter I'm using for the hardness. The coconut oil helps to also give like that creamy, but also hardness to the soap. It helps to cleanse as well. So I'm adding my castor oil. And you will learn to make your own recipes. So this is my olive oil. Then I'm using sunflower oil as well. Okay, so from here, you can always add your sodium lactate. You can use salt as well, but I haven't done much research on adding just salt because sodium lactate technically is salt. No, I do not. For this one, I am only using 1 pound of salt today. We're not doing a lot because, as I said, I'm just going to the basics really of how to make soap. So I only need 1 teaspoon of sodium lactate. Okay, from here, if you want to add your additives, like your powder additives like kaolin clay, goat milk powder, coconut milk powder, you can surely go ahead. As I said, I'm just doing a basic soap today. I will though be adding my citric acid because I will be using this soap for myself when it's done anyway. As I said, I'm just showing you guys these. So I tend to add that to my oils. When I first started adding citric acid, I would add it to my water, but I found that it still made the water kind of thick. So I would rather add it here and then blend it and then add my lye. Okay, so you can buy a stick blender from any appliance store. Amazon, I got mine from on Amazon. I don't know if you've ever heard me say that eventually I would like to get another one. So the other one I would like, this is actually more curve. I think that's going to help a lot with blending. Either way, at this point, yes, this is, as I mentioned, you can add your additives here. You can also add your colorants at this stage too if you know that your soap is going to be one color. If it's going to be multicolored, then no, you can wait after. So when you are making your soap, we try to not get a lot of bubbles in the soap mixture. That actually helps to cause some little spots on the soap, and those are just air pockets. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I'll show you something else from here as well. Now I can go ahead and pour my lye because it is at room temperature. This is just lye lint. It's really up to you if you don't mind having this on top of your soap. And this is just from the lye itself. When you are pouring your lye, try to pour it on your stick blender or your spatula so that it doesn't splatter on you while you are pouring it in. And at this point as well, not only should you be wearing your gloves, again, you wear your eye gear to make sure that it does not splash in your eye. When you are finished pouring in your lye, make sure to set it far away from where you are. It could still have in remnants of the lye and you don't want it to spatter on you by mistake. Now you can go and blend this. This is a little bit, I will pulse it, but when you are doing your pulsing with your mixer, just try to hit the immersion blender like this so that any air bubbles that are in the immersion blender come out. Okay, so when you are making soap, you're looking for something that's called trace. Sometimes you might have a false trace, and a false trace is like when you can still see the oils on your immersion blender. Now, when that's like you put it in, you pull it out, and you don't see like an opaque, nice format like this. You see like the oils and the water are separated. Now, this is what I would call a light trace, and this is good for if you know you are going to make a design in your soap, And there are other factors that can contribute to when your soap does get to trace, or if it becomes too thick, like if you're adding a lot of powder additives, if you are soaping really hot, it could be the fragrance oil as well. There could be a lot of different factors. Right now, I'm soaping at my light concentration is 35%. That 35% is okay for what I'm doing here. But if I know that I want to make like a design and I need it to stay for a very long time, I can choose either different oils. I can make sure that I'm not using a lot of butters. And also, I can also soap at a lower light concentration, which would be like 28%. And again, that all depends. I've seen people also soap at 40% as well. And that just means that the light water concentration is very, very low. So right now, and this is a batch, say my oils is 480 grams altogether, like the water is like 127 and the light is like, I would say almost half of that. But if I'm soaping lower than that 28 can turn into, say, the light water might be 300 and something grams or so. So just be careful when you are doing it. Know, like if you are doing a design, how you would like the soap to be. Also, another thing to keep in mind is if you know that you are going to be using like a lot of fats, then you might want to change your super fat. So super fat, say for instance, I'm making milk, coconut milk soap, I might tend to increase it only because like the standard is usually 5%. I might increase it to maybe 6 or 7 because I don't want the fat content from the coconut oil to disrupt my soap. It has happened before where I started and I didn't know that I had to do that. And when I poured my soap in, like the next day, there was so much oil on top of the soap. I've never seen that before. And I was like, oh my gosh, I messed up the soap. The soap was still usable, but it left that like, I don't know if you ever cooked meat and the fat that came to the top, how it looked. So yeah. So I like the consistency of this. So I will just remove it. And you can use these blue paper towels. I know a lot of people are environmentally conscious. You can always get a rag. I just think it's a little bit more sanitary doing it this way, because I'm not going to use a rag to wipe here, clean this or whatever. But at the end of the day, it's totally up to you. So as I said, I stirred it some more and this is good. Now you can make it thicker if you want, but I want it to be able to pour into this container because it's so small and because it does not have a wooden box around it. I want to make sure that it pours in without any issues. So this is the first one in the how to make your soap. And before the video, I will actually just share some of the things that you can use, that you can buy on Amazon to get, so that you are aware. I might put it at the end. I'm not sure yet. But however, we are not coloring this soap. We're also not adding any fragrance to it because this is the basic soap. This is as basic as it can get when it comes to soap making. And this is just your oils. This is your hard oils, your liquid oils, and your lye. And that's basically it. As I said, I just added the sodium lactate to harden the bar, as well as the citric acid because it does make the lather a bit better. So in terms of the citric acid, when you are using that, you have to use it at a certain amount. I will place Tellervo's video in there on how to use it. But at this point, I like this trace and I will go and I would pour it. Now, these bring back memories because this is actually what I used to use when I first started. This mold here and another white mold if I can find it. So these molds here, this is what I first used before I got the big loaf molds, and they worked for what I needed at the time. I didn't used to make a lot of soap. This can probably make about four or five bars, I think. And then the other one used to make 4 bars because the way that was, I would have to cut on the side and then cut vertically from there because of how it looks. But yeah, this is as simple as it gets. The other video, I would show you how to actually do a swirl. And this is just a normal in the pot swirl. Then the next one after that, we'll take another step. But for now, if you have any questions, maybe about where you can get certain things, usually everything is in the description box. But if you don't see something and you want to ask a question, just go ahead and ask a question in the comment section. When I first got this too, I would put this in another box so that it is sturdy. But for here, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to pour it in. Now you can see the reason why I used to put it in another box because of this part here. And it was easier to lift, but that's okay. So this will set up in here, and then from here, then we'll cut it in 24 hours. It takes about 24 hours, 18 to 24 hours for these to harden. The sodium lactate does help. And then on top of that, if you have salt in the soap, it can actually be cut even sooner because the salt really helps to harden the bar. Okay, so what I'll do is I will come back in a bit and I will actually do a design on the top. So this is where you can do that as well. You can do little circles for this because it's a plain bar. We'll actually do from side to side. And I'll show you that as soon as it hardens up a little bit more. So see you in a bit. Okay, so this is hardened up a little bit. So there's different ways that you can make your design. You can have it on one side, you can have it on both sides. You can use a spoon, you can use a spatula, however you want. I will just choose something simple right now, so I'll just do like this. Okay. So as I said, very simple design. So there we have it. And this will be the first in our soap making series where you learn to make soap yourself. So after the series is done, I'll actually have a full sit down and talk about different challenges that you might have along the way. But yeah, this is number 1. So this is not scented. Again, it's just normal soap. No fancy additives in it. And then the next one, I'll show you how to do it in the pot swirl. Bye for now. Okay, so we've done our first soap, right? And this is what it looks like after. Now, this is our very simple soap. There's nothing added in this. All we're going to do today is cut it. If you got this small, then it might be a little challenging to take it out because this is really hard. You can first open the sides. Then you can start pushing the soap up like this. And then slowly pulling. This is why I kind of switched over time, because this is really hard to come out of the mold. Okay, so that kind of, when you do it like that, depending on how hard your soap is, you can end up with like little dents here, but it's not a problem because usually you cut those parts off. So we'll go ahead and cut our soap. So from this, you see I'm getting 1, 2, 3, 4 bars. And that's our first soap. And then you will cure these for the standard time, which is 4 to 6 weeks, before you go ahead and sell your soap bars. As you can see with this mold also, you have to take into consideration, that's why I was saying I usually put it in a box, because then you have these, like, it warps out, but that's okay if you don't mind that, then it works perfectly. Okay, so thanks for watching. So come back for part 2 for when we do a swirl soap.